Good night, Judge.
Good afternoon. This is Judge Alyssa Perez presiding over the 210 District Court criminal docket for October 25th, 2022. All matters being heard today are being heard in accordance with all emergency orders and directives regarding COVID-19. In addition to that, we are streaming all matters live via YouTube for public viewing. Mr. Marufo, would you call our next case, please?
Second on page 10, Judge. Annex, may we have Gutierrez Soto?
Afternoon, Judge.
Sorry, yes, sir, he'll be right.
Okay, and this one is interpreter. So,
Yes,
and
Judge.
if you'll start the function, then we can. Annex, if you'll select Spanish, please.
Yes, Judge.
Sí.
Thank you. Calling cause number 2019-0D0-6840, State of Texas versus Giovanni Jonathan Gutierrez Soto. May I have announcements, please?
Javier Salcedo, Assistant District Attorney for the state, ready to proceed.
And Myrna Pages for Mr. Giovanni Gutierrez Soto, ready as well, Your Honor.
And Mr. Gutierrez is appearing from the jail annex. He is also utilizing the assistance of a court interpreter, Ms. Leonor Santos. We are scheduled for a plea hearing today. Mr. Gutierrez, is that your understanding of what we're doing here today?
Sí.
Okay, so in order to start your plea, I need to swear you in. If you would raise your right hand, please. Sir, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth? Thank you, sir. Put your hand down. Sir, would you state your name and date of birth for the record?
Giovanni Jonathan Gutiérrez Soto, 17 de octubre de 1979.
Mr. Gutierrez, as I mentioned, we are scheduled for a plea today, so there should have been documents you reviewed with your attorney. The first of which is marked as State's Exhibit number 1. Those are the plea papers in this case. Within that document, you're guaranteed certain rights, including the right to remain silent, the right to trial by jury, the right to counsel, the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses, and the right to call witnesses on your behalf and in your defense. Mr. Gutierrez, do you recall reviewing State's Exhibit number 1, the plea papers, with your attorney and signing that document?
Sí,
And did you understand everything contained within that document?
sí.
Ms. Pages, have you had more than 10 days to prepare a defense in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you explain the plea papers to your client?
I did.
Do you believe he has understood the admonishments, rights, and consequences of giving up these rights by entering his plea today?
I do, Judge.
Mr. Gutierrez, are you satisfied with your attorney's representation of you?
Sí.
Ms. Pages, any reason to believe your client is not presently competent to enter his plea?
No reason at all, Your Honor.
Mr. Gutierrez, have you ever been found mentally incompetent by any court?
No,
Ever been examined by a doctor or psychiatrist who has found you mentally ill?
no.
So based on your testimony, your attorney's representations, and my observations of you, I'm going to find that you are competent to enter your plea today. Sir, are you a United States citizen?
No,
Okay, do you have any legal status here in the United States?
soy legal.
Ms. Pages, did you have an opportunity to discuss with your client any potential consequences, immigration consequences to his plea today?
Yes, Your Honor. My client, as well as myself, we've had lengthy discussions with our in-house Padilla attorney. My client was given several options. This is an option that we thought was the best for his particular situation, considering his immigration consequences. So yes, Judge, we have discussed his particular situation with our in-house Padilla attorney.
Mr. Gutierrez, you've heard what your attorney is represented. Are you in need of any more time to explore any immigration consequences to your plea today?
No, está bien.
Do you understand, sir, that you could be subject to removal, deportation, you could be denied citizenship, any number of consequences as a result of your plea today? Do you understand that? And are you still wanting to go forward with your plea?
Sí,
Okay, sir, by indictment, you are charged with the state jail felony offense of theft of property in an amount between $2,500 and $30,000. Sir, to that charge, what is your plea, guilty or not guilty?
culpable.
Are you making your plea freely and voluntarily?
Sí,
I will find you are making your plea freely and voluntarily. Mr. Salcedo, would you summarize the evidence, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Had the state proceeded to trial, the state would have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that on or about the first day of August 2019 in the county of El Paso and state of Texas, Giovanni Jonathan Gutierrez Soto, the defendant, did then and there unlawfully appropriate by acquiring and otherwise exercising control over property other than real property, to wit, catalytic converters of the value of $2,500 or more, but less than $30,000 without the effective consent of the owner, namely Edgar Castillo or E-Collision Auto Center or E-Auto Sales, with the intent to deprive said owner of said property. And at this time, we would offer State's Exhibit number 1, which is the plea agreement and the Article 3914 disclosures.
No objection, Your Honor.
Without objection, State's Exhibit 1 and the 3914 disclosures are admitted. What is the plea agreement?
The plea agreement, Your Honor, is 8-month confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, Institutional Division, State Jail Facility, with no period of community supervision, and we will dismiss cause number 2022-0D02531.
Ms. Pages, is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
Yes, Your Honor. Did he state 8 months stay jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, Your Honor, and if my client can please be given any credit for the time that he has been in custody.
Okay. Mr. Gutierrez, is that your understanding of the plea agreement as well?
sí,
Understand that the plea agreement is not binding on the court. However, if I were to reject it, I would allow you to withdraw your plea. If I follow the plea agreement, you may not appeal this case except on matters raised by written motion and ruled on before trial or by permission of the court. The next document I'm going to ask you about is a 1-page document entitled The Trial Court Certification of Your Right to Appeal. It is a document that explains your appeal rights. Because this is a plea bargained or negotiated case, you do not have an automatic right of appeal. Mr. Gutierrez, do you recall reviewing the trial court certification with your attorney and signing that document?
sí,
Yes. It was signed by your attorney and signed by the court as well. So on your plea of guilty and the evidence introduced, I will accept your plea and at this time find the evidence substantiates your guilt. I will find you guilty of the offense of theft of property in an amount between $2,500 and $30,000, and I will sentence you according to the plea agreement to 8 months confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice State Jail Facility. You will receive credit for any and all time that you have served. Is there anything further, Mr. Salcedo or Ms. Pages?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
The only thing, Judge, if we can please get that dismissal on his other felonies
yes.
in the state.
Correct. There was also a dismissal to be, it should be forthcoming from the state and I will sign off on it. I actually did not have that notation. So we had a 2022 case that will also be dismissed by agreement. Okay, anything else? Thank you,
Nothing
Ms.
further,
Pages.
Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you both. Good luck to you, sir. Is anyone else going to need the interpreter so Ms. Santos can go about her day?
Not to my knowledge. Annex, does anybody else need the interpreter for this afternoon?
Let me go ahead and check.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Santos.
Gutiérrez.
Okay, who's next?
Annex, may we have Lozano Adrian?
Coming out.
Thank you.
Mr. Lozano, is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started.
In cause number 2022 0D01398, State of Texas versus Adrian Lozano. Announcement of council, please.
Javier Salcedo, Assistant District Attorney for the state, ready to proceed.
And Myrna Pages for Mr. Adrian Lozano, ready as well, Your Honor.
Mr. Lozano, I have us down for a plea hearing today. Is that your understanding of what we're doing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm gonna need to swear you in so we can start your plea. If you would, please raise your right hand. Sir, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. You can put your hand down. Would you state your name and date of birth, please?
Adrian Lozano, July 6, 1998.
Mr. Lozano, as I mentioned, I have you scheduled for a plea. So there were documents you should have reviewed with your attorney, the first of which is marked State's Exhibit number 1. Those are the plea papers in this case. Within that document, you're guaranteed certain rights, including the right to remain silent, the right to trial by jury, the right to counsel, the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses, and the right to call witnesses on your behalf and in your defense. Mr. Lozano, do you recall reviewing State's Exhibit number 1 with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you understand everything contained within that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pages, have you had more than 10 days to prepare a defense in this case?
I have, Your Honor.
And did you explain the plea papers to your client?
I did.
Do you believe he has understood the admonishments, rights, and consequences of giving up these rights by entering his plea today?
I do.
Mr. Lozano, are you satisfied with your attorney's representation of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pages, any reason to believe your client is not presently competent to enter his plea?
No reasons.
Mr. Lozano, have you ever been found mentally incompetent by any court?
No, ma'am.
Ever been examined by, excuse me, doctor or psychiatrist who has found you mentally ill?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so based on your testimony, your attorney's representations, and my observations of you, I'm going to find that you are competent to enter your plea today, sir.
Yes,
Are you
ma'am.
a U.S. citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you born?
Odessa, Texas.
Okay, in this case, you were charged with the offense of failure to comply with sex offender's duty to register. To that charge, sir, what is your plea? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Are you making your plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
I will find you're making your plea freely and voluntarily. Mr. Salcedo, would you summarize the evidence, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Had the state proceeded to trial, the state would have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that on or about the 23rd day of November 2021 in the county of El Paso and state of Texas, Adrian Lozano, the defendant, did then and there, while knowing that he was required to register with a local law enforcement authority in the county where the defendant resided or intended to reside for more than 7 days, namely El Paso County Sheriff's Office, because of a reportable conviction for aggravated sexual assault of a child. The defendant failed to register by the 7th day after the defendant's arrival in said jurisdiction. And at this time, the state would offer State's Exhibit number 1, which is the plea agreement, and also the Article 3914 disclosures.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
So the plea papers and the Article 3914 will be admitted. What is the plea agreement?
The agreement is 9 months confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, Correctional Institution Division, State Jail Facility, with any credit for the time that he has been detained.
Mr. Lozano, is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Pages, is that your understanding as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, understand that the plea agreement is not binding on the court. However, if I were to reject it, I would allow you to withdraw your plea. If I follow the plea agreement, you may not appeal this case except on matters raised by written motion and ruled on before trial or by permission of the court. The next document I'm going to ask you about is the one-page document entitled The Trial Court Certification of Your Right to Appeal. It is a document that explains your appeal rights. Because this is a plea bargained or negotiated case, you do not have an automatic right of appeal Mr. Lozano, do you recall reviewing the trial court certification with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Was signed by your attorney and signed by the court as well. So on your plea of guilty and the evidence introduced, I will accept your plea and at this time find the evidence substantiates your guilt. I will find you guilty of the offense of a failure to register, failure to comply with registration duties, and I will sentence you according to the plea agreement to 9 months confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice State Jail Facility. You will receive credit for any and all time that you have served. Is there anything further, Mr. Salcedo or Ms. Pages?
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Good luck to you, sir.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Who's next?
Judge, may I be excused?
Really? Yes, you may.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
Bye.
Bye.
Top of page 9, Judge. Annex, may we have Benjamin Enriquez?
Yes, sir, he'll be right out.
Thank you.
So who has Mr. Enriquez?
Enriquez.
Mr. Stevens.
Hi, good afternoon, Judge.
Okay, so good afternoon. I'm looking at this one. We have a plea on one and a bond hearing on another.
We had a bond hearing set up as a
Backup?
backup, yes.
Okay,
And the one that's set for a bond hearing, the possession case will be dismissed.
okay. All right. So I didn't see it on the plea agreement. Was it on the plea papers?
I don't, but I will send it.
Okay, yeah, I just need the dismissal, in which case I'm
Yes.
only gonna call the 2012 case, okay? Unless you all are gonna notate it on the plea agreement.
I trust Preston to send it, Judge, but
Yes.
we can just put it in the
record? Okay.
record, yes.
Calling cause number 2022-0D02012, State of Texas versus Benjamin Enriquez. May I have announcements, please?
Preston Munson for the state. Stays ready, Your Honor.
Brent Stevens for Mr. Enriquez, we're ready, Your Honor.
Mr. Enriquez, I have us down for a plea in this case today. Is that your understanding of what we're doing here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm gonna need to swear you in. Would you please raise your right hand? Sir, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Thank you very much. You can put your hand down. And before we get started, also with respect to the plea paperwork, are both counts being reduced to a robbery?
Yes.
Okay, so it's 2 counts, 1 and 2. Okay, Mr. Enriquez, as I mentioned, we're scheduled for a plea today, so there should have been documents you reviewed with your attorney. The first, well, you know what? I didn't ask you to state your name and date of birth. Will you state your name and date of birth, please?
Benjamin Enriquez, 9/24/2004, Your Honor.
2004?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it's a little hard to hear you. So if you'll speak up just a little bit, Mr. Enriquez, sometimes with the audio, it's not always the clearest. All right, so documents you reviewed with your attorney, the first of which is marked as State's Exhibit number 1. Those are the plea papers in this case. Within that document, you're guaranteed certain rights, including the right to remain silent, the right to trial by jury, the right to counsel, the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses, and the right to call witnesses on your behalf and in your defense. Mr. Enriquez, do you recall reviewing State's Exhibit number 1 with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand everything contained within that document?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Mr. Stevens, have you had more than 10 days to prepare a defense in this case?
We have, Your Honor.
And did you explain the plea papers to your client?
I did, Your Honor.
Do you believe he has understood the admonishments, rights, and consequences of giving up these rights by entering his plea today?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Enriquez, are you satisfied with your attorney's representation of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Stevens, any reason to believe your client is not presently competent to enter his plea?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Enriquez, have you ever been found mentally incompetent by any court?
No, ma'am.
Ever been examined by a doctor or psychiatrist who's found you mentally ill?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are there any conditions that have been diagnosed or anything that's undiagnosed that is preventing you from understanding what we're doing today?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Based on your testimony, your attorney's representations, and my observations of you, I'm going to find that you are competent to enter your plea. Sir, are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Where were you born?
El Paso, Texas.
Okay. In this case, you're charged by indictment with 2 counts of engaging in organized criminal activity. However, I understand through negotiations that each count will be reduced to the offense of robbery, which is a second-degree felony. So as to count 1, robbery, what is your plea? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 2, what is your plea on robbery? Again, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Are you making each of your pleas freely and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
I will find you are making your pleas freely and voluntarily. Mr. Munson, would you summarize the evidence, please?
On or about the 23rd day of April 2022 in the county of El Paso, state of Texas, Benjamin Enriquez, hereafter referred to as defendant, did then and there intentionally, knowingly commit the theft, as well as intentionally, knowingly, recklessly cause bodily injury to Oscar Salazar and Abel Quinones, moved to admit States Exhibit 1 and 2, 3914.
Any objection, Mr. Stevens?
No objection, Your Honor.
States 1 and 2 are admitted. What is the plea agreement?
Plea agreement is on the lesser of robbery. He is pleading to 10 years TDC, probated for 5 years, to have no contact with the victims, Oscar Salazar, Abel Quinones, or the co-defendants, Alonso Aguero, Jacob Salcedo, Michael Gutierrez, and Jesus Chacon. UAs and BAs screened for drug, alcohol counseling, anger management, theft counseling, curfew 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. There's no weapons and he would follow all other standard conditions. There's a $750 fine, 350 hours community service. And with this plea, we are dismissing the possession case in 2022 0D0 2009.
Mr. Stevens, is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Enriquez, is that your understanding as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, understand that the plea agreement is not binding on the court. However, if I were to reject it, I would allow you to withdraw your plea. If I follow the plea agreement, you may not appeal this case except on matters raised by written motion and ruled on before trial or by permission of the court. The next document I'm going to ask you about is the trial court certification of your right to appeal. Is a one-page document that explains your appeal rights. Because this is a plea bargained or negotiated case, you do not have an automatic right of appeal. Mr. Enriquez, do you recall reviewing the trial court certification with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Was signed by your attorney and signed by the court as well. So on your pleas of guilty and the evidence introduced, I will accept your pleas and at this time find that the evidence substantiates your guilt. As to counts 1 and 2, I will find you guilty of the offense of robbery, and I will sentence you according to the plea agreement at 10 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division that will be suspended for a period of 5 years of community supervision. There will be a $750 fine, 350 hours of community service. You are to possess no weapons, firearms, ammunition, no contact with the complaining witnesses or any co-defendants. You are subject to urine and breath analysis. You are to be screened for drug and alcohol counseling, anger management, curfew, and theft counseling. Is there anything else, Mr. Stevens or Mr. Munson?
Nothing further from the state.
Oh, and there's also a dismissal on cause
Yes,
number 2022 0D0 2009. Mr. Enriquez, as soon as I get it, I'll sign it.
And I'm
Anything else?
sending that right now.
Okay.
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
Mr. Munson, anything else?
Nothing further from the state.
Mr. Enriquez, don't mess up on probation. I don't want to see you back here. Follow all your conditions. Thank you very much. Who's next?
Thank you. I hope I'm not bunging, but will I be going home today?
So I know they got to process you. I don't know how long it'll take as soon as we get the paperwork over there, okay?
All right, thank you.
Who's next?
Staying on page 9, Judge. Downtown, may we have Escobar?
Ready?
In cause number 2022 0D0 1862 and 2021 0D0 1603 and 2019 0D0 4571, State of Texas versus Edward Valentin Escobar. Announcement of council, please.
Javier Salcedo, Assistant District Attorney for the state, ready to proceed.
Brent Stevens for Mr. Escobar, and we are ready, Your Honor.
And Mr. Escobar is appearing from the downtown jail. We are scheduled today for bond hearings in each of one of these cases. You may proceed, Mr. Stevens.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Your Honor, my client is on probation in this court under the 2019 0D04571 cause number. It's 5 years deferred for aggravated assault. That occurred in July of 2019. The complaining witness is a different person, a male person, not the same as the complaining witness in the two pending cases. He's being held on no bond for the probation case. For the two new cases, they occurred in October of 2020, so 2 years ago. One was indicted about a year after the other. I think the burglary was the one that was indicted first. But they both have the same offense date of October 18th, 2020. And then my client was arrested October 19th of this year. They both have $10,000 cash or surety bonds. Judge, my client is 35. He's a US citizen. He's lived in El Paso almost his entire life since he's about 2. If he's released, we have set it up with jail reentry for him to be transported to a homeless shelter, at which point it would be most likely he's going to be at the rescue mission. At that point, he will just get back on his feet and then find a place for himself to live that he could pay for. The complaining witness named Miss Jackie Wright is listed as the complaining witness in both of the new cases. I haven't had any contact with Miss Wright yet. I'm hoping that we can make contact with her soon. My understanding is that they were still living together relatively recently, up until before the arrest, but I haven't been able to confirm that yet. My client has been to trade school at Western Tech and was trained to be a welder. He's been unemployed now for about 1.5 years, however, and there are 1622 issues in this case. If he's released, he will need to be re-referred to Takumi, and we're requesting OSAR at EHN also. And I guess, that will really be the end of it. He was arrested after calling the crisis hotline in this case. So that's how he wound up being arrested on the warrants from the indictment.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Stevens?
No, not at this time, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Salcedo?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hold on, let me ask a quick question. So I did see that even though we have a 2021 and 2022, that they're basic, I don't know if it's the same incident, but it's the same date anyway, with respect to the two new cases. But I want to go back to the 2019 case. We do still have a motion active, right, on the probation case, and that was active since August 13th, 2021. And I think, if memory serves on that, let me go back. It was at least the one we had, the new case we had filed in 2021, maybe not the assault. And let me look at it, because I thought there was something else. Let's see, there's the motion to adjudicate. Oops. So slow. So burglary habitation, and then we had some failures to report. That was the thing, right? We had failures to report listed on the motion of February, April, May, and June 2021. And then failing to remain. Carla, can you tell me about the third one on the motion? Failing to remain under custodial supervision in the community corrections facility. What happened there? Because it's February, March, May, June, July.
I'm sorry, you're reading the allegations off of the motion, correct, Judge?
So it's paragraph 3. If you'll look into that, those are gonna be something I'm gonna look at. But
Okay.
while she looks at that, Mr. Salcedo, go ahead.
And yes, Your Honor, at this time, we would oppose any type of bond reduction or PR bond on either the 2022, 2021, and the 2019 case. As you pointed out, Your Honor, the motion to adjudicate has been pending since August of at least last year. And not until October of this year was he arrested on that case. And so that just tells me that he was not reporting, he was not communicating with probation. In addition to that, as the court is well aware, Senate Bill 6 does not allow any type of PR bond on any cases that involve any type of violence. And we have here burglary of habitation and assault on a family member. So we would ask that if the court's going to, first on the 2021 cases, I think those bonds are reasonable. They're not out of the ordinary in cases like this, but at least on the 2019, we would ask that the court put a cash bond on there so that if the court is inclined to do that, so Mr. Escobar will make his appearances. My concern is that he never showed up for about a year, Your Honor. We had this warrant pending for all that time.
So he's entitled to a bond on the 2019 case. I'll just say, Mr. Stevens, do you have anything else on the bond?
The only thing is, Judge, that my client has very limited funds for a surety bond, so we would request it be as low as possible.
I'm definitely not there. In fact, going back, I think even leading up to his plea on the 2019 case, he was a no-show until he pled. And so there are serious concerns. He is entitled to the bond. So as to the 2022 and 2021 cause numbers, honestly, I feel like those are low, but I'm not going to reduce them. So those will stay at 10,000 each. And then on the 2019 case, I'm not going to go lower than 50,000 cash surety. I know that's not where you want us to be, Mr. Stevens, but with your client's history, he's just has too much non-compliance. I did see that there were 1622s, I think, at every stage. What I was not able to access was any more detail other than the initial assessment that there were 1622 issues. So I did try to look into it and see what was going on, but for some reason, Odyssey was telling me I could not access. So
before, as we progress in this case, Judge, I'll get you more information for details on that information.
do we have a trial track? We don't have a we don't have a trial set. That's very strange. Myrna, can you look at the 1862 case? And then let me look at the 1862 case goes all the way up to final judges conference, but then it doesn't have a trial. And then same thing for the 2021 case. We have them set for things up through final judges. So we need to add the docket call. I'm sorry, the final hearing plea deadline and the trial dates as to both of those cases. And
Judge,
then Monday.
I'm sorry. I'm working on entering those.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not finished with them, but I have those pending.
Okay. And then we need to track the probation case with the new cases. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stevens.
Your
Is
Honor,
there any
Thank you.
Monday, Miss Carla?
if I may, I believe on the motion, the only thing I can think of, Your Honor, Mr. Escobar was transferred and accepted to participate in the mental health caseload and was referred for EHN services. And he missed the dates, but thereafter, Judge, he never reported from August 2021 to present.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Salcedo, have you wrecked? Thank you, Carla. Have you wrecked these cases yet? Is there a wreck?
No, Your Honor. The 2022 and the 2021 case are fairly new, and so we don't even have an arraignment yet. So I'll look at them and make a recommendation.
Okay.
For everything.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
All
Do
right,
we
thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Escobar. Do we have anyone else from downtown, or is this our only defendant?
That's the only defendant, Judge.
All right, who's next? Thank you, downtown.
Thank you, Judge.
Top of page 10. Annex May we have Jesse Garcia?
Yes, sir. Just give us a second, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Hernandez, is this your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
good afternoon. While we're waiting, Mr. Salcedo, did you have a rec on Mr. Garcia?
I
I believe
believe we,
it's 3 TDC, Your Honor.
Through TDC?
it's, yes, Your Honor, that would take care of the second and third degree felony, and also 18-month state jail would take care of the state jail case or count.
Okay.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Well, we're not started yet. I was just asking informally, Mr. Hernandez. All right, calling cause number 2020-0D03257, State of Texas versus Jesse Hernandez. May I have announcements.
Javier Salcedo, Assistant District Attorney for the state, ready to proceed.
Edward Hernandez, Deputy Public Defender with the Mental Health Advocacy and Litigation Unit. On behalf of Mr. Garcia, we're ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Garcia is appearing from the jail annex. This one was reset from last week. I think I remember, is this the individual, Mr. Hernandez, mental health concerns, but then basically, I don't want to call it, I don't think shut in, but I mean, he was homebound, I guess, and had some issues.
That is correct, Your Honor, and we've been putting the pieces together to get him rescreened. Mr. Garcia is the individual. He's a young man who was in his room for a year and a half while the state thought he disappeared. He'd just basically been locked up. He had not initially qualified for act or fact, so we've been putting together, getting his mental health history. So far, what we've been able to put together, Your Honor, is over a number of times up until he actually got arrested just a few months ago. His parents had been calling the police, 911, to report that their son was talking to basically nobody that was there. In other words, he's having these conversations with people that don't exist. He wasn't EDO'd because even though he was clearly psychotic, he was not a danger to himself or others, so they didn't take him. Additionally, he on the day that he was actually arrested by the state, Your Honor, he wasn't actually taken to the jail first. He was taken to the hospital because they noticed that he was having an episode. And he remembers leaving in an ambulance. It was only after he came to at the jail that they informed him that he had been brought from the hospital. There are statements that he's made to our social worker who's at the VA today, so is unavailable. But even the social worker said that he made statements with regard to what he felt was happening in his brain and his head that indicate psychosis. So we believe he would qualify for act or fact, Your Honor. We're just putting together the evidence. I'm trying to find out where that hospital is they took him to so we can get their reports. We can get statements from the parents that called that called the police, not because of this arrest, but because of his psychotic, delusional conversations he has with people that don't exist. Clearly, there, I believe, is enough there to get him into Takumi and act or fact, but we need to put it together and get him rescreened, Your Honor. All we're asking is for a little more time. He was not on drugs. He was not committing any new offenses. He was just at home in his own safe world. And the thing is, we're just trying to put together a program that will allow him to be on probation, but basically stay at home and let them go and check on him, Your Honor.
Okay. So how much time do you need? And let me ask, is he getting any kind of treatment right now while he's in custody? Is he on meds? Is he on?
I believe he is, Mr. Garcia.
Yes, sir.
Are you taking medication now?
They giving me bus part, sir?
Most part. Yeah,
Well,
Buspirone.
I think, it sounds like we're still in progress here. How much time do you think you need?
Your Honor, I think about, I know it may seem like a lot, but about 3 weeks, Your Honor. I just got to put the evidence and witnesses together and then get act or fact on board for the program. But we're proposing an alternative that would keep him on probation. Also, as the court is aware, but maybe the state isn't, he was not in the mental health unit probation. I don't know how that slipped through the cracks, since the indicators we see, there's plenty of indicators that he should have been. So we just asked the court for 3 more weeks. We'll put together a packet, run it by the ACT program and see if we can get them in, Your Honor.
So I won't be able to schedule you until the 29th of November. So it won't be 3 weeks. It's a little more than that, but it's the first Tuesday after the holiday at 3 p.m.
Yes, Your Honor. And Mr. Garcia, I'll be there to see you and explain what's going on and get some more history from you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll see you then. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Your Honor.
Okay, who's next?
Staying on page 10, Judge. Annex, may we have Ortega Julian?
Am I excused, Your Honor?
Yes, Mr. Hernandez, good to see you.
Good
Yes,
to
sir.
see you,
I'll be
Your
right
Honor.
out.
Thank you, Counsel. Thank you.
I am jealous. You are never that excited to see me.
Is there an internet issue today? Like everybody is coming in really choppy. And even my computer seems to run a little slow.
You froze up, Mr. Lopez.
I was going to say that I thought that's usually the best material I have, Judge. I'm not going to be able to. Let me see if I can. Let me log in using another.
I have a feeling it's not you, because even Miss Garza, was it Miss Garza earlier? Even hers was muddled. Is this Mr. Ortega?
Yes, ma'am. Hello, good morning.
Okay. Okay, hold on a second. Let me see if your attorney, Mr. Lopez, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Okay, let's get started.
In cause number 2021 0D00016 and 2022 0D03896, State of Texas versus Julian Ortega. Announcement of counsel, please.
Javier Salcedo, Assistant District Attorney for the state, ready to proceed on both cases.
Your Honor, Luis Lopez on behalf of Julian, we're ready to proceed. Mr. Ortega.
And Mr. Ortega is appearing from the jail annex. We're scheduled in the 2021 case for a pre-revo hearing, and then in the 2022 case for a review. Let me look really quickly. Oh no, you just came in on this case, Mr. Lopez. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're scheduled for a review hearing. In fact, we haven't even gotten to the arraignment yet. Well, he is not on probation. Oh, well, wait a minute.
Your Honor, he already pled to the 2021 case, 2021 0D00016. He pled August of 2021.
August 26th.
And I'm not sure how, but at council, they related these two cases together, the 2022 case to the 2021. I guess because they thought he was on probation, but he already went to TDC and was paroled from TDC.
He pled in 2021, okay, to 4 years, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor. And he was paroled. If you look at the 21 case, there's a notice on there. That's the parole notice. He was paroled in May of 2022. And I guess they just sent it.
What's the date of offense on this case? On the
It is September 1st of 2022.
And when did he get out?
July 5th is the notice we received. I'm not sure what the actual date was.
Wow,
but
that's fast. All right, so we're here for a review hearing. He has his dates. Mr. Lopez, I guess you, so really we're done with the 2021 case. So yeah, that doesn't need to be.
Yes, ma'am.
More. So we just have a DWI. What number DWI is this, Mr. Salcedo?
And just looking at the history, Judge, on the third morph, this looks like it's number 7.
What? All right. What's his bond?
2, 3.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
No, Mr. Ortega. Nobody's asking you any questions.
I don't have 7 DWIs. I have 5 with this one.
Oh, yeah. Didn't I ask you to just wait and not speak?
I apologize, Your Honor.
All right. Let me get clear. Mr. Marufo, did we get a PSR on this one?
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
I apologize, Your Honor. It is 5 DWIs. I just saw that there was operating of a motor vehicle with an open container, public intox on there as well. Driving while intoxicated, open alcohol container. So he does have 5 DWIs. This would be number, if he's convicted, this would be number 5.
This would be.
Well, Your Honor, then I'm going to move to suppress his admission to 5 right now that Mr. Salcedo had misled him.
Write it up. Write it up. All right. So let me look at his PSR. This is a review. I mean, normally, Mr. Lopez, what I would do, but he's in custody, is I would go through it, and I'm going to go through and review if he's got, what's his bond on the 2022 case? What's his bond? That's the only one we have.
It's a 30,000 split.
Split what?
I'm sorry, it's frozen.
Yeah, see, there's something going on.
Mine as well, Judge. I'm trying to pull up the bond order, but
So I'm gonna look at his while you guys are doing that, his PSR. Does your 4 priors include a New Mexico one, Mr. Salcedo?
it does not, Your Honor.
So I'm showing a March 2019 Carlsbad aggravated DWI.
Your Honor, it's a 25,000 surety or cash component and 5,000 PR.
Okay.
I was never convicted on that.
You know, I'm just gonna swear you in, Mr. Ortega. Raise your right hand, please.
Am I in trouble?
Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide is gonna be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
So put your hand down. The next time you speak, I'm gonna hold you to absolutely everything you say. If Mr. Lopez, you need to talk to your client.
Julian, please don't talk anymore.
Yes, sir, I apologize, sir. I'm just really nervous.
It's okay. It's okay. But everything you say can be used against you. And I have no protection when you say it in here. So you and I will talk about everything, okay?
Okay, sir, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
And
No.
Your Honor, I'm also looking at the at his rap sheet, and it looks like there is a hold out of the parole board. And also looks like a hold out of Carlsbad, New Mexico for failure to appear.
Okay. So let me just finish going through. I think I lost count. I lost count on the Texas ones, but I'll go ahead and for now just accept what the state is telling me on the 4 in Texas. But I did see that one. That's what I wanted to see, is if there was an out of state.
Hold.
There's yeah, they have this entry from West Virginia, which I've been seeing on some of these PSRs. And they usually just reference either our local cases, like there's one FFJ type stuff. I don't see any new offenses there. It doesn't make sense. Okay. All right. So for now, let me go back. You said it was a 25-5, Marissa?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Let me go back up and look at the conditions. Was there an accident in this case?
No, I don't believe so, Your Honor. Let me look at the supplement.
Not that I'm aware of, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor, there was just a call out to reference a suspicious vehicle.
Okay. So in terms of the review, I'm only going to adjust the conditions on the PR bond. So your client is aware, Mr. Lopez, on these DWI thirds especially, but on other DWI offenses in this court, I do review the conditions on the PR bond, because generally JMAG is not in line with the conditions that I want. Certainly not on a DWI subsequent. So although the bond obviously will stay the same in the amounts, the conditions are going to change. He will report once a week. No, he will report once a month by phone to the PR bond office. he is to acquire a portable monitoring unit. He may not operate a motor vehicle, period. He will have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. unless he is working. He is to use no illegal drug or alcohol. He may not leave El Paso County or change his place of residence without court permission, commit no new offenses, subject to testing. That's it. I think that's all I have. So that'll be the only change in terms of the review. So we're pretty early on this. We have our dates. Mr. Lopez, did you have anything in particular you wanted to address?
No, ma'am, not at this time. I just wanted to get a better handle on the 2021. But I'm going to look into the Carlsbad hold because that really makes a big difference as to what we can do. And I also need to talk to him about how long he has on parole, because that's also the blue warrant, does a lot.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'll get familiar with the case, Your Honor, and I'll talk to Mr. Salcedo and discuss recommendations and everything.
Yeah, so we only have our arraignment just, not even 2 weeks out. So we're on track for a trial in May. If anything comes up, I'm sure you guys will request hearings. Thank you very much. If there's nothing else, we're adjourned on Mr. Ortega.
That's it. Mr. Ortega, I'll be out to see you soon. Okay.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question, attorney? Mr.
Yes.
Lopez,
As long as it's not about the case or anything having to do with your case. If it has to do with your case, then please don't ask. I'll come see you.
Okay, I just want to know, am I going home today?
No, we have warrants that we need to look at. One of them's out of Carlsbad and one of them is from the parole board. So once we look at those, if we can get those lifted, then yes, we can get you out. But without getting those lifted, you're in. But I'll discuss that more with you when we come, because I know the judge has other cases.
When will I see you, sir?
Probably by Friday.
Okay.